All right, we are going to take a little detour right now from Deep Space Nine episodes and actually talk about the Deep Space Nine pocket novel, The Siege. So if you don't know, Deep Space Nine came out with novels around the time that the show came out. The first one was a novelization of The Emissary, so I'm skipping that because it's the same plot as the TV show. We already covered it. The second one was written by Peter David. Now, Peter David is known for a lot of Star Trek novels. He did a bunch of original series novels, a couple Next Generation novels, and then he did a long series called New Frontier, where he made his own characters quite a bit. But this Deep Space Nine novel kind of stands out. And he did this as the show was getting to boot, because he was just one of those Star Trek writers who they knew would come out with books in a timely fashion. And he did so. It's pretty interesting as they talk about this. This was written while this show was not on the air at all. And I've actually seen some comments from Greg Cox, who wrote some later books, that even like once you got up into like book 12, 13 of the series, that those started being written while the show was still not on the air. It's kind of wild how many books came out like with like very little information out there. So what they were given was like a writer's Bible of what these characters were. Peter David said he was given the first 5 scripts of it, but didn't actually see any of the episodes, of course, before it came out. And so he apologizes at the beginning of the book. He's like, if there's any mischaracterizations or anything, I did my best with what I had, right? And I've heard horror stories about this stuff. I've actually talked with Kevin J. Anderson from Star Wars, and he wrote a bunch of the Star Wars EU stuff. He said at one point, he didn't say which franchise it was, he had to go in as a franchise to write a novelization, and they flew him to L.A., they sat him down with the script, which he was allowed to look at in a room, take notes. They were they actually wanted to look at his notes before he left, and had to like remember it from memory when he went back home. Was not given a script that he could look at before. Just had to like write it all from complete memory from what he read while he was at that place in person while they watched him in a room. And that's exactly like they try to keep these things under wraps so that there's no spoilers or things like that coming out. And that's kind of what suffers with this book here. Now, this is pretty interesting. Deep Space Nine is forced to curtail entry into the wormhole due to increased graviton emissions of an air of biting tension that settles over the station when anxiety leads to the murder of a religious leader. Commander Benjamin Sisko and Security Chief Odo realize they face a bigger problem. The missionary is the first to die, and soon Odo and they have more lifeless bodies on their hands, and then Cardassians threaten them because of this, and so it starts a big thing. So these religious people that show up on here, and they're basically like Christian scientist missionaries who don't want to use modern medicine or anything. They have a boy who's dying, and it's Peter David like making a commentary that like they're basically abusing people by having this religion. I hate that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it like puts a sour taste in me. I don't like people's religions being mocked like that, and that's clearly what was done here. And somebody gets killed by this person who ends up being a shapeshifter. And Odo ends up having to tangle with a shapeshifter as the book goes on later. Now, there's a lot of, like I said, characterization problems in this. Sisko's really brash, really, I'd say, not really in line with the morals that he shows later in the show. He's willing to lie, just and do things on that level. I'd say that Quark and Rom come off a little like less comedic and a little more angry than like the Next Generation Ferengi. I think that's what Peter David was trying to play into on that. They called it Quark's Casino, not Quark's Bar. So all the characters said Quark's Casino, Quark's Casino. And so they really went and emphasized the gambling aspect of it on that front. And like I said, some of the characterizations were off, which we knew it was going to be in that case. Now, they tried to play up Odo's mystery, and there's this changeling and all that, who's not really a changeling. They didn't really get into what the character is, who is like, I could be like you, and then they kind of drop it at the end of it, and of course it never gets referenced again in the novels. And so this is like a thing that eventually is like kind of a precursor to the whole Dominion changeling, etc. thing that is going on the other, for the main storyline of the deal. So as this goes on, they demand extradition of the murderer once caught, all of them, and because of this, they have to. The Cardassians are going to attack the station and the like, and of course one of them gets out there, and they actually get out. Nodo and the other guy who calls himself Meta, which is kind of interesting these days too. end up in space fighting, and of course the changeling ends up getting destroyed, who's not really a changeling. I keep saying changeling, but shapeshifter being, right? And Odo doesn't really learn anything. So like I said, this is a quick novel. It's pretty short, 272 pages. Didn't quite work out. Peter David has a lot of his good quippy stuff to it. I didn't love the subplot, of course, where Julian Pagier eventually convinces them that their religion's wrong and that they need to like go with science. I mean, that was kind of a ham-fisted sort of thing. But it's still like pretty action-packed, all right. And so I'll call this like a 6 out of 10 overall. Definitely something that's tough to hold up given the continuity and stuff that ends up happening later in Deep Space Nine. So this is the second novel that came out in May. And so I think I'm a little, I should be a little further in the show. I think I kind of am not in the exact spot. Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 3. I think we just did Episode 3 or Episode 4. And let's see, past prologue. When did this air? So January. So I'm still in January before their little like mini break in the middle of the season here in terms of episodes. But I did read this one real quick because, it's going to take a longer time to catch up on some of the novels than watch some of these episodes. So I wanted to get this out of the way. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Guys, if you like my thoughts on Star Trek, I'm going to be coming out with a great space trilogy later on. And I want you to get in on this. I am an author of science fiction. And my Space Explorations trilogy is really going to scratch that itch for you. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Don't miss it. Stay connected with me in case you lose me on YouTube. Sign up for my newsletter. You get 3 free books just for doing so. Best deal on the internet right here. I don't know anybody who gives 3 whole books like this. And I would love for you to be here so that we can stay connected for when my new books come out. Thank you so much, guys. And I love hearing from people on the newsletter list. You're amazing. Appreciate you being there. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back.